Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Waharaka Kadash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors you brothers out there on the highways and the byways, teaching His word in all sincerity and in truth. And I just want to show a clip from a video going into CBDCs, which we know that that whole system is linked to the mark of the beast. Okay. Now, I said linked. All right. The CBDC isn't the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is the actual implantable RFID chip. However, there's an infrastructure that that chip is for. All right. It's not just going to be an empty chip, nothing on it. But anyway, yeah, because you see, you gotta understand that these elites, all right, they, the whole point of pride is the pride of man is the belief that they are in control. And these elites believe they're in control. And what's going to happen is a lot of their downfall is pretty much going to be brought forth by their own hands. All right, because while they're thinking they're being wise, they're actually being fools, and that's how the Lord play the game. Sometimes He'll have you make the decisions and make the very same plans that's going to lead to your downfall. And so, we always talk about BRICS, right? And we know the prophecy that these nations are going to come up against America and the beast, right? But at the same time, a lot of this episode between the East and the West is being managed and controlled by the elites. You see, they're trying to manage and control this conflict to come to their outcome, but ultimately it's going to come to the outcome that the Lord wants. All right. And so Job 5:12 says, He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Right? They believe in order ab chaos, they believe in the Hegelian dialectic and setting up controlled oppositions and false flags and all these different things. And that's what they're doing. But at the same time, what they don't understand is they're not really the ones that's in control. And at the pivotal point, they're going to find that out. It says He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, because you see, for them to bring in the MOTB and the New World Order, they themselves are creating certain crises. But these crises are prophecies, and these prophecies lead to their end. But in their mind, these crises are under their control, and it's going to lead to their New World Order. So it's going to be hilarious to watch these plans backfire on them. But that's why it says He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Because when you think you're being crafty and wise, the Lord got you in a trick back, just to show you that you ain't all that, man. Right? And the counsel of the fraud is carried headlong. Right? One more scripture, then I'm going to get to the clip, man. All right? And these devils are doing it. These devils are moving forward fast with their plans, man. All right? And they're collapsing America, because all these things that you see happen in America, they're behind it. The polarization of the people, they're behind all that, man. Who deindustrialized America? The elites. They're the ones that shipped all the jobs over to the East. And they're managing the de-dollarization. They're managing that. They're down with that because they want a new system. So in order to have a new system, you need to bring a crisis to the old system. And it don't mean nothing to them. The dollar don't mean no more to them than what the pound meant. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be a new dollar and a new system anyway that they control according to their wisdom. And that's all they care about. The ones who actually worship and care about the dollar is the poor people. They the ones worshiping the dollar like it's the end all be all of life. These men will just, they feel like they're gods. They'll just create a new currency for you to worship. Anyway, according to their wisdom. This is Revelations 12:12. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them, and woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." And that wrath is going to manifest itself because these crises that they're preparing will directly lead to the deaths of billions. And they know that. And they don't care. Right? The crisis and the collapsing of the system, the old system, will lead to death. 100%. Mass death. But they don't care. Because they believe in sacrifice. And as far as they're concerned, the people that die during the transition is a sacrifice for their enterprise. Like, people think that their interest is to keep society stable. No, they don't give a damn about whether society is stable or not. They'll collapse any country. They'll basically, these elites are willing to do whatever it takes to bring in a new world order. They don't care. They don't care about any one person, any one people. They have no national allegiances. And that's what people are going to find out. Even America, they don't really care about. America was a tool. That's what horror is, a tool. All right. But let's listen to this. This is a good video. I suggest I would watch this whole thing because the guy was breaking it down nicely, and he was basically showing you about what's happening with BRICS and the de-dollarization, and he can see that. Hold on, this is like perfect theater on both sides. Everyone's just playing their part, like. But he as he rightfully says, could this be all set up to create a crisis to bring in these technologies? And yes.
Monetary theorist who wants to get rid of the banks, wants to. Why are they doing these things? Why are we being dethroned King Dollar for where he advocates the U.S. should immediately shed its reserve status? The privilege of having it is one we can no longer afford. If I wanted to get rid of the world reserve status, the first thing I would do would be to weaponize the dollar, to push Russia out of SWIFT, to confiscate their assets, to not just sanction them, but to confiscate them and use them.
These are all things that the West has done. And this is all part of the plan.
Tell them that we are using them to rebuild the Ukraine, and then at the exact same time, I would push away what is the linchpin of the dollar hegemony, and that is the petrodollar, Saudi Arabia. And we signed another executive order saying by 2030 we'll be 50% green, and by 2050 nearly 80% green. In essence, we're telling Saudi Arabia, hey, we don't need you anymore. Those two things in particular would be the very first two things I would do to lose the world reserve status. And then if I look at the number two in charge, Lael Brainerd, who is a modern monetary theorist.
So it's actually quite interesting because when you really break down what's happening, these dudes are self-sabotaging America's position in the world. And it's all to create this crisis, man, that they want to control. It's mad.
Look at the things that are being done in this country, and you have to wonder to yourself, why are they doing these things? Why are we mothballing all of our energy? Why does, and this is not a political statement, but why are people looking at what made this country great, liberty and justice for all, where people would tie inner tubes together with string and float from Cuba or walk from Central America, across, God knows what, and how hot it was, and all of the perils to find liberty and justice. And people look at what's happening in this country, and I think they have to question, is justice being passed out equally? Is it being administered equally? Are we the country that we once were?
This guy's like so gassed up on what America was. America was always this. They just hid it very well. Now they're just not hiding it, like, because they want these issues. It was never no bastion of liberty and justice. Like, come on, get out of here, man.
Of the unity of this country, where, after World War II and the Great Depression, we were a unified country. We were able to stand together and build a great country. We're not unified anymore.
And that's mainly through psychological operations of the media. The media has done a great job at polarizing the American public on many issues. Extremely polarizing. Right, that's why you got Fox News and CNN and all these guys in the different camps. Like the whole Trump situation, extremely polarizing, and it's all being done on purpose.
Black and white and red and blue and vax and no vax and rich and poor, and we're very, very much just not the same country we once were. Now, what I'm getting at is simply this. I ask you, could this possibly be intended? Could they possibly be trying to create an event? And this is what I've talked about for a very long time without really saying it. When we push away Saudi Arabia, we create divisiveness in this country, we weaponize the dollar, we're doing everything we can to create an environment where you see this coalition of countries pushing back against the West, even our allies like France, pushing back, and all of a sudden sides are being drawn. And what happens? What happens if Saudi Arabia and OPEC at that moment say we're no longer taking dollars and the dollar gets dumped? The banking system, remember, Lael Brainerd is a modern monetary.
That event will be extremely painful event. Extremely painful. That will cause crisis on both sides. But they want the crisis because that crisis will allow for certain things to be pushed forward on both sides. Like the MOTB.
Theorist who wants to get rid of the banks, wants to cull them. Look what's happening with the banks. The aiding and abetting of the money leaving the regional banks to the big commercial banks by the Fed because they're allowing the money market fund.
When you break it down, those bank runs were done by a very few amount of accounts, and the money in those accounts came directly to those account holders from the government. So it wasn't like random little people taking their money, like their little $250 out of the bank that caused the bank run. It was massive accounts with hundreds of millions in them that were withdrawing their money at the same time. Now you got to ask yourself, why would you keep hundreds of millions in the bank? No one does that. You don't keep hundreds of millions in one account in a bank, especially when you know there's 250k insurance on that. People put that kind of money in bonds and things of that nature. That's because that was there for that purpose, and they got loads of these accounts so that when they can do bank runs when they want, and they can make it look like, so they'll turn up with the cameras and there'll be people outside the bank lining up, and they'll say, oh, look, see, it's these people, they caused the bank run, when ultimately the reason the bank couldn't meet the demands of the withdrawals was because of whale accounts that we tried to withdraw overnight hundreds of millions. All right, that's more than any of these little people put together. And that's what they did in the last crisis, and they're ready to do that at any time with any of these other banks, these whale accounts. And like I said, they traced the money in these whale accounts literally came from the government during C-19. They were just handing out the money, and the money ended up in just a few accounts for that purpose. So this whole thing is being orchestrated
to invest in the overnight reverse repo market at 5.3%. With daily liquidity. There's no reason to stay in these fractured regional banks. You see this event, or whatever event it is, that creates this chaos where the banks fail and they will be bailed in, not bailed out. Bailed in. That's what the Dodd-Frank law said. They must be bailed in. Everyone will lose everything over $250,000. It goes into the pot to bail in the bank. The dollar gets dumped globally because it's no longer the sole settlement currency for oil. At some point, that's that all-at-once moment. You go over the falls or the Jenga Tower falls. Hey, thanks. You guys are going green. You signed an executive order. You don't need us anymore. So we've signed up with the BRICS, and we're going to sell oil in other currencies, and the dollar gets dumped globally because every country's had to hold it for 50 years to buy oil, and now it creates a tsunami of inflation. Interest rates spike, the banks collapse, everything collapses. Why? Because how the hell else, Daniela, do you get everyone who watches your show who said, I'm not taking a CBDC, not a chance in hell? Well, guess what? The $155 trillion in debt that the U.S. has, $32 trillion on balance sheet, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and government military pensions, $120 trillion. That's owed to the American public, mostly. And as China and Japan and Saudi Arabia dump treasuries, who's buying them all? The American public. So if you create an event purposely, knowingly, you push away Saudi Arabia, you create this event where the dollar, we're not clinging to the privilege of the world reserves currency, just like the number one economic advisor in this country would like. Instead, we are incentivizing de-dollarization and ultimately that moment where there's an event created, where, by the government's own admission, we have $5 trillion in assets backing $155 trillion in debt. The largest asset, 40% of our assets are student debt. What I'm getting at is you create an event because you'll never pay that debt off, ever. There's no way you can pay that off without completely getting rid of entitlements and stop spending and do all of these things that won't work in this country. So you create an event, you have a villain. Xi Jinping and Putin and OPEC, how could they have done this to us? They dumped the dollars, look what they've done, and bang, everything collapses. And everything collapses at the exact same time. Stocks, bonds, real estate, the dollar, pensions, 401ks, the banks, everything. But have no fear, because Lael Brainerd is here, and she's a modern monetary theorist who ran Point for Fed now, has been dealing with the CBDC, with MIT, and all you need to do is sign on the dotted line, and we'll make you whole. In other words, what I'm getting at is, could this have all been thought out? How else do you reset? How else do you find a villain to blame for the collapsing of the system that allows you to default and start over and allows the American people to be made whole by signing on to a modern monetary theorist's dream of a central bank digital currency? Sign on the dotted line, we make you whole. So I guess all I'm saying.
And then when you think about it, on both sides, that happens on both sides, because it's also going to hurt the other side. So the other side can do the same thing, because the banking system is always interconnected. And then also, like he said, you got a built-in reason for war, right? You're going to need these digital IDs. You're going to need the CBDC. Hold on. You're going to need this chip. We need to chip you. This is how it's all going to come through. Crisis. And the pressure is going to be on the people to take it. And the people who don't want to take it are these people. They're terroristic. They're with the enemy. Blah blah blah. Whatever. This is what's coming down the pipeline, man. And a lot of people are going to be caught unawares in that crisis.
Is this? I do believe it's going to happen, and I think there'll be a tremendous amount of pushback for those who would otherwise willingly take it. But what if there was an event that put everyone at the same place, where you have no choice to take it or to be. Yeah,
everyone. Doesn't matter whether you or. Let's read it. As I say, man, you will own nothing, right, and love it. They gonna break these people down. Even these people right now that think they're millionaires, and they gonna all be in the line to get that chip. Them even more so, because they might promise them, yeah, we'll give you a little bit more, right? Revelations 13 and 16. It says, and he calls it all, both small and great, all. So that means they have to create a crisis that affects everybody, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. That's going to be that implantable RFID chip. But they're not just going to give you an empty chip. No, there's going to be a whole system and infrastructure and reasoning behind that. Yeah, you have this chip. It's going to have your digital ID set up, and your CBDC account is accessible, and all these government services, you can use it to come get these rations. Yeah, we need to do this. Just like how we needed to give you passports in World War One. Now we need to give you this chip. Oh, don't worry, this was where it was going anyway. We can hook your chip up to new medical devices so that you can have your own medic. You can have a doctor in your body. All these different things. This is what's coming down the pipeline. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So this was a very good video, and you know, you could watch this whole video. It's like 33 minutes, but a lot of what he's saying, we've been saying. Sometimes you see these things, bricks and all these different things, and you know, and on one level, yeah, they're against each other, but on the higher levels, this is being orchestrated and manipulated. But then on the higher levels, which is the most high level, it's it's all being orchestrated and manipulated, because even the elites are being orchestrated and manipulated to their own end, to their own destruction, which is beautiful. Yeah, so I just wanted to point you in the direction of this video, man. And listen, everything is happening according to plan. We just gotta hold it down, as the scriptures say. Hold fast, because it's all going down. All right, Shalom.